Hey, I'm Ben,
And I'm Evan.
and welcome to Coffee Break. Welcome back to Coffee Break with our good friend Josh Braden. Hello.
Hi.
Well, it's good to actually have Josh back on a podcast ever since the ones we did this summer, which I'm sure not many people have actually listened to, but
I don't
We'll
blame
leave
him.
those. We'll leave.
yeah,
those
we'll
in the
leave those
garbage can.
in the past
Yeah.
and just focus on these right now. I don't really want to focus just on this the whole time, but as of when we're recording this, Ben and I have just finished up our final show of high school, our final proper performance that we'll be doing in high school. And so in this episode, we just kind of want to not really talk specifics about it, but really just be kind of general about theater and just reflect on it as we've just gotten done with the last one we'll do for a little bit.
Yeah, and you just finished your second show, right?
Yeah.
Second
Yep.
show,
Second show. You almost made me say Antigone.
Antigone.
Antigone, and the one that we had done in the fall was Pride and Prejudice. And You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is coming up. And I'm going to be doing lights for that.
Hey,
Going to be doing all
nice.
kinds of things. But they're sticking to the 6-person cast that is
just
originally.
the
Wow.
only,
Yeah.
just the six.
Sweet.
So
That would be different if we would.
It would. I would actually have been very interested to do. Well, not that we could really do it that way in our setting, but I would have been interested to see something like that.
Yeah, that would have been, especially if I don't know. Okay, now that's just I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, that's good to hear though that you're doing lights and everything because over the last couple of years, I've really tried myself to get more involved in crew stuff, like doing set builds and doing I don't know, fly rail stuff and whatever running crew does and all those type of things. So getting the whole aspect of it's really, really cool for me.
Well, yeah, it's theater is much about more than the actors entirely because it's all about the storytelling process. And if you've got the lighting wacky that skews the story in a certain way, or it's about how am I going to accomplish my objective and how am I going to convey what this means to me to the audience. And also I think people focus too much on the interaction between the audience and the actor. But I think a lot of times actors get caught up in the idea of performing because that's what it is. You call it a performance. We're going to a performance of this show tonight, blah, blah, blah. A show even.
Mhm.
But a lot of times it's easy as an actor to get caught up in that idea of performing rather than viewing it as work for yourself to convey an idea, to convey a person's story, a character's story. That character is only going to live for you. I mean, through you that night. So it's important for the actor to also think of it as work,
Mhm.
and I think getting involved in all the other things helps you realize that because everyone's doing their own work.
Right. It's a team thing, which is something that I know all three of us have heard countless times in theater.
Yeah,
But of course, you can't have one without the other. You can't have actors without a crew. You can't have crew without actors.
Of course.
Um,
I think it's important for the actors to be the crew.
Absolutely.
yes, we know that. We all three know this.
Yeah.
From Sound of Music. Although we were legit the running crew,
Mhm.
but we were also
On
the
stage
cast.
for a little bit, we were in the cast, but we
Yes.
spent much more time moving set pieces than we did anything else in that show.
yeah.
Right.
Me and you stayed during Charlie Brown while we were one of the 6 characters for
Mm-hmm.
our rendition of Charlie Brown. We would be the ones who would stay for set builds, and we would paint
Yeah.
everything. And sad enough, it is not surprising to me at this point. We were legit the only people, the only kids when we would go.
hmm
It was-
I mean, and I'll be honest, I didn't ever do that when I was a freshman and sophomore.
Oh, gosh,
I only
no.
ever did that as I've gotten older. And I would hope that some of after we're gone, if some of the underclassmen would hopefully kind of step into that and not pick up the slack really, but kind of see that role and kind of see how much both sides of it really go into making a
For sure.
production. because I think that what means so much more to me than say like a lead role or getting the last bow or getting like the most time on stages, like really like how you set an example for the people coming up like behind you, the people that are younger than you.
Definitely.
And I've really tried to do that in the last couple of shows. And I think Ben and I, like with some of the underclassmen that we've known through directing things in our one act play and our and just the interactions we've had in our past show, I think we've done at least a pretty good amount of that, and I would hope so at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it I think yeah, it is important, especially in a in a theater environment like CHA where you have the people coming in and the freshmen, and it's important to get that idea while you still have that kind of environment. Even in college for me, it's still the same thing. You've got people coming in that are new. And it's because when you get out in the real world, acting people aren't there to help you. You're
It's,
there.
yeah, it's
they're there for
real
yourself.
competition. Like
Yeah.
you're there to make your own living.
And I'm not saying that there's not any chemistry between a troupe, or there's not any kind-heartedness towards each other as actors, but it definitely is much less like it's figure yourself out for yourself. So yeah, it is important to kind of have that sort of and I think I honestly think the most important thing an actor can do is like have at least it doesn't have to be in the professional world, but at least in like a college setting or something like that, like at some point be involved in some sort of troupe. And I mean, CHA kind of has that, but you really have to like be with you have to know the people that you're with when you're learning acting. Now, when you're doing it as a job, maybe not so much, but you're always learning as acting, even if you're doing it as a job. But when you are learning acting fundamentally, like I'm doing right now, it's incredibly important to have people who you know and trust, because acting is one of the most entirely vulnerable things that a person can do, because you're freely giving of yourself and your emotions and your body and and becoming another person, most of the time.
There was something I heard one time. I can't remember who said this, but it was like a quote that has kind of stayed with me as I've continued to like perform more and just learn more things as I go. And that is like, people always talk about, oh, I'm playing this character, or I'm trying to become this person. But what I read once is like, if you think of it more as you're not playing a character, but this character is playing you. That's
Sure.
that's something I've really tried. That's really resonated with me, and that I've really thought about
Sure.
as I've gone more into it. Because I know you talked about like interactions with the audience and everything, but there's always going to be a part of you in every character you play.
Oh, for sure.
And there's always going to be stuff of your own personality and of your own, just the way you are and the way you
Definitely.
act in everything you do. And so like if you're not even really thinking about it from an audience perspective, it can actually help you, because you react much more genuinely, I feel, when you're surprised by something and when you don't expect something.
Of course.
So if you have an audience reacting to something in a way you're not anticipating, I think that can help you much more, like with your energy, with the way like you present yourself, and with the way you would even say a certain line with just their energy. Because I know it goes back and forth, but it helps almost to not really be expecting that beforehand or not be anticipating it in a way.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm still kind of. I mean, I just started doing theater again, and I don't think I've ever been very serious into theater. I've done, middle school shows, blah blah blah, and no one wants to hear about that. But like, I've done shows before, and I don't think I've ever taken a role serious to the point where I have to think about doing certain acting decisions and acting techniques until this year. I mean, Crucible was rough. I legit signed up for the day before auditions just because I could have, like, just because I can. And I think it's going into that show, I didn't think about who my character was. I didn't care who my character was. I just like, oh, I'm going to be on stage. I'll be a performer, blah, blah, blah. And Like it got to the point where our director Susan got mad at me because I was like, it just showed that I didn't really care, which kind of screwed me over in like some other aspects, which is when it comes to like the respect that I was given when I'm on stage and whatnot. But it was my fault because I didn't really care. But the more I grew and the more I saw what kind of actor, because I feel like you also when you get certain roles, you discover more of who you are.
Absolutely.
And more learning techniques you get, and what helps you and what doesn't help you, what helps you get into character and all that stuff. And it's just easy things. It's weird because you don't think about it. Like with me, it's weird to go from Charlie Brown to Javert.
Yeah.
It's weird to go from Linus to Javert. That's very weird for me.
The thing, I know you mentioned The Crucible before. That was the show that kind of really started for me learning how to act seriously and learning how to really dive into a character and really understand the journey that a character goes on, because every character in any good work has a starting point and an ending point, and it's the actor's job to display that journey to the audience and to themselves, really. But for me, it was kind of the opposite. Well, I wasn't thinking about it from Charlie Brown to Les Mis, but because all of our characters in Charlie Brown were just kids and kind of frivolous and not really deep at all.
The opposite of me and Flegel.
Right.
But it's easy to get caught in a trap there, because if you think like, and I know you're not saying this, but if you go into a show like Charlie Brown and say, well, Charlie Brown, this show it's based off of a comic book that was kind of a TV series for a little bit, and everyone loves Charlie Brown and he's funny and it's easy to completely disregard Charlie Brown's wants and needs and his the fact that he's just as much of a character as John Hale. Yeah.
It's actually interesting you bring that. Was actually the next point I was getting to with Les Mis, because I, like, for anybody that didn't see it, I was Thénardier in Les Mis, who sings Master of the House, who is really the comic relief of the show. And I'll be completely honest with you, I don't think I've ever really said this publicly before, but when that cast list first came out, I did not want that role at all. And the reason I didn't want that role was because in my head, the way I thought of it was, oh, everybody knows Les Mis is this really sad, heartbreaking story with all these characters that go through these terrible things. And I wanted to be able to tell a heartbreaking story and to be a serious character. But the more I got into it, and exactly what you were talking about avoiding, Josh, a minute ago, was exactly what I was doing, was writing it off as, oh, this character is just comic relief. There's nothing you can do with this. Everybody else is going to be telling these amazing stories where I'm going to be stuck with nothing. But as I got into it more, the more I sort of realized this role is probably the greatest challenge I've ever been given, because it's so easy for an audience member and for anybody seeing the show to write this character off as, oh, he sings that funny song, or, oh, he made us laugh in that one scene. And to be able to take a character that everybody expects to have one thing and everybody can so easily just put aside, and to add depth and to add layers to that character.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at his character, and the people who wrote Les Mis did not include that character for just comic relief, or just for, if you look at the, and we don't have to talk about Les Mis, but if you look at the entire story arc of that, his story is just as sad as everyone else's.
That's true.
Even more so than a lot. I mean, look what he did to Eponine and Cosette, and you guys, you and the
it's just Madame Thénardier.
Oh,
yeah, it's just Monsieur Thénardier and Madame Thénardier.
Good old misogyny. But their desperation and their lack of any sort of integrity, and it's just as sad as the rest of I don't know, in my opinion at least.
Yeah,
as an audience member.
that was one of the things that was really huge to me, that our director relied very, very heavily on the actual book, the original book that the show is based off of, for a lot of the notes she gave us on the characters. And the biggest thing she told me from my character is the way the book describes the two of them is there was no good in them.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about these people. There's nothing redeeming about them whatsoever. And to where you can either look at it as, oh, all I get to do is be funny in this one song, or, oh no, I can now portray this horrible person who leaves his own child to die in a war and then sings the line, clear away the barricades and we're still there. Which is all, it's just all about money. That's all it is for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, and I'll make this quick because we don't need to stay on Les Mis. Also, I have a question to ask you, Josh. But what's going off that with Javert, I really didn't know what I was getting into. Like, I'll go back to what Flegel said. Before Castless came out, we were doing 2 shows, and I was focused on those shows, and I really didn't care about Les Mis at the time. I was like, I don't know what Les Mis is. I had no idea what it was until about 2 weeks before auditions. And I watched the movie, which, dear God, never watched the movie. Just tip. But the book is fantastic, though, so read that. But I definitely didn't know what I was getting into before, like a month before. As soon as I watched it, I realized the story, and I immediately thought, okay, Javert is an evil guy, which is my mistake, big time. And I didn't realize that until I did callbacks. So when we got callback music, we got stars for our callback music for Javert, and I didn't know what stars was. I didn't know what it was at all. So I did research on the song. I looked up what it meant and how does it relate to Javert. And it's weird because it's like Javert comes out as, his first impression is evil. He's taking Jean Valjean and he's basically just destroying him verbally destroying him in front of all of these prisoners. And, he's just making a fool of him. And
yeah,
basically he has a whole different story behind it. And that's what I had to look for in my character. I couldn't make him mean all the time. You had to have some sweet moments. You had to have some understanding moments. I had several people come up to me and say, like, after the show, they said, I thought you were gonna, get justification. I thought you were gonna well, I'll give a spoiler alert. Javert at the end ultimately decides to commit suicide because there's no way, like, Jean Valjean ultimately gives him freedom, which is what he's been trying to ruin, his freedom, for over 20 plus years. So what's the point?
Yeah, so you have to look at what drives Javert to commit suicide, to like what is so like critically messed up in his life, because that is the worst thing that you could do.
Yes.
Like end your own life. So you look at what causes him to make these choices. What is driving him behind that? Because and you made the correct choice in making like one of my directors calls it like the hot water choice, because you can make the choice of, oh, let me be Javert in the scene and just spit on Jean Valjean and call him 24601 and get out of my face, or you can be Javert who is trying to maintain the law, and when someone like Jean Valjean comes along and ruins it, of course he wants to get rid of that, but he's still, of course he's got like a personality and he's got moral, but look at it from his perspective. You of course Jean Valjean is wrong and he's ruining it for everyone else. If people can look around and say, hey, this guy broke his parole, and he's mayor now, so like what, that would piss me off too.
Oh yeah. And it sucks because something that the school edition that we did doesn't highlight is the confrontation between Jean Valjean and Javert. And those lyrics in that song are intense. They're so powerful because it talks about Javert's background, about how he was, the very last lyrics say, it's like, I was born in the gutters too. I was born with men like you. Basically, I am like you. You don't understand. I'm just like, how did you turn out to be a thief, why'd you turn to the life of crime when you could just be like me and follow the law? Like, you have no excuse to be doing that. And without having the confrontation in there, I had to find ways to interpret that into my singing, into my acting choices, which was a little difficult, but yeah, I got there. All right, let's switch from Les Mis. I have a question. I have a question for you. So, going off to that, and I remember, I'm pretty sure I'm thinking about this correctly. John Proctor. Okay, John Proctor was. What would you say is your favorite role first? I'm just gonna ask that. Hardest role for you.
I think the role that I've learned most from, probably is Haman, honestly, from Antigone, which I just, I think part of it is because I feel like I'm finally grasping at, like actually good acting now. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I feel like I'm finally getting to a place where I can, instead of going on stage and pretending to be the character, I can go on stage and embody the character.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times people go on and say, like, I'm gonna pretend to be John Proctor, and hopefully I do it well. And then people are like, you pretended well, but it's a lot deeper than that. And I feel like with Haman, I finally got somewhere to the point where I was actually wanting those things so badly that the reason I would get nervous to go on stage was not because, like, I finally felt a twinge of nervousness before each performance of Antigone, which I usually never have stage fright or anything like that. And I was like, why am I getting nervous? And like my stomach's going to get upset and stuff like that. And it wasn't because the people were there and because people were watching me and I was afraid of failure. It wasn't that at all. It was because I felt like I was scared to go out on stage and waste my opportunity to get what I want. And I felt like I was going to, and I felt like I wasn't going to accomplish my objective. That's why I was nervous and scared. And spoiler alert, the way this show was written, I don't accomplish my objective. I'm trying to convince my father not to kill the person who I'm going to marry. And he just gets mad at me and basically throws me on the ground and says, "You're weak. You're a woman's mouthpiece." And then, I leave really angry and upset, obviously. But so I had to disregard the fact that I knew that, and I had to completely just like go on stage every night saying, "I'm going to convince him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to win tonight."
I'm sorry.
No. I mean, what's up?
I wanted to, you just reminded me of one of the things I wanted to talk about. Something I heard actually from a director at Case Western, which I went there. I actually auditioned for a theater scholarship there in November, and one of the things one of their directors gave us a little like workshop while we were there, and one of the things that he told us that's really stuck with me is that anytime you in a performance or in a show or anything like that as a character, anytime you're giving a monologue and acting, the reason you keep talking is because either the audience or the person you're talking to has not given you what you want.
Yeah, of course.
And like that's something that I has always stuck with me and just reminded me of that when you said that, because anytime you're speaking in character, whoever you're speaking to, there has to be a reason for that.
Well, and
they have not given you the reason, what you want, and the reason you're talking to them.
Of course. And a lot of times the hard thing comes with being kind of chained down by the script, which I think screw lines. Lines do not matter. I have been so convinced of that, because when you get a script, I think lines are like the last thing that you should focus on, because it constricts you, because then you can't make your choices like based off but
we'll cut it out. We'll fix it.
It's okay. No. But it's just like as the character, you need to use everything in your power to get what you want. And a lot of times lines, you read through a script and you're like, "Oh my God, how am I gonna convince this person of this, or how am I gonna like get them to do this when this is what I'm given?"
That's where blocking comes in. That's
And-
where tone comes
Right.
in.
And
That's
so
where-
many people are like, oh God, this play is just written terribly.
Yeah, I
If
hate
you say that, then you're a bad actor.
Yeah.
Because
make something out of it.
the playwright, and obviously there's bad playwrights, but if it's a good play, then you are a bad actor because the playwright has written it with, like, has put in these put in, awesome. I love to speak sometimes. Has put these characters into this scene for some reason. There's got to be some conflict. There's got to be some sort of drive for both of them, or else it wouldn't be fun to watch.
Mhm.
And not fun. I hate that word, fun, and good. Fun and good are the worst words. How was it? It was good. Good.
It was fun.
I hate that.
Awesome.
I hate
It was
that.
so much
Oh.
fun. It was so great. It was good.
My prof for my acting class this semester forbids us to use the word good because he'll always ask us after a scene, "How was that?" It was good. Really?
Yeah,
was
good,
it?
good,
Was
yeah.
it? A lot of times it's not. But yeah, I don't know. Acting is tough, man. The more I learn about it, the more I learn that I don't know. I don't know anything.
There is always more. Like there's so much more than meets the eye.
So we'll take a less serious, because I mean, it is good talk, but sometimes it is.
Yeah, you got to get past
acting
it
isn't, because
sometime.
the thing is, acting isn't just all. Don't talk to me today.
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
my character.
Yeah.
One of those things.
I mean, the fun in acting is from the work that you do out of it. So it is fun, and as much as I hate that word, there is some sort
it
of
is fun and good.
there is some sort of gratification. Oh my, that is fun and good. Yeah. So what were you gonna say?
So let's say we're just gonna take not. I'm not gonna say not less serious. We'll just be like more, just talkable
yeah.
things. All right. I know I asked you what your favorite character was. Let's ask what was the most. We'll do fun. How was it? Fun and
Okay, going off the theme.
What was your most fun and good character you've ever played in the
Most
show?
fun and good character that I've ever played. I mean, obviously Bottom was a huge delight.
Sorry, out of context. What show is this from?
Midsummer Night's Dream.
No, see, I don't know. Like
Nick Bottom, yeah, he's a wonderful fellow.
Bottom is a huge delight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bottom is like, oh.
I think most men would agree.
Given that was good.
No, it was I don't know. Yeah, that was super fun. He's basically actually pun intended. He makes an ass of himself in everything he does. So that was, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
You can, yeah.
Fine.
but it was that was fun, I guess, and good.
Oh,
Both of them.
Well, that's good and fun.
I mean, yeah.
All right, Flago, what was yours?
My most fun and good.
Dear God.
Dear God. Oh man. Fun and good, I would give it to Schroeder. If the fun and good award for me goes to Schroeder from Charlie Brown.
Metal.
Because Schroeder was one where I got to draw so much of my own self out for that character, and just like basically as a younger kid, which is really it's just what all those characters are at a much younger age than us. But that one, he's very passionate about like music and about piano, and he just gets to like think everybody else is a blockhead that doesn't like appreciate things in the way he does. And so that was just a way to kind of take a little bit of that out of me and have that in just a fun and good younger kid.
Well, that's really good, and that
I
sounds
had a
really
lot of
fun
fun with
also.
it.
Yeah. Okay, this needs to stop.
Okay,
Ben, go
I'll
for
give mine. I'm gonna have to say probably Joseph. The reason why I say that
You played Joseph?
is no, I was not Joseph, but in Joseph. Probably just because of the community that we had, and just because it was a fun time for all of us.
It was a pretty good show too.
It was pretty fun as well. Joseph and the good Technicolored dream
The
coat.
good fun dream coat.
And I'll tell you why it was fun, because I had like all my best friends around me. It was legit. We talked about this the other day. It was legit the men in different clothing on stage singing.
Mhm.
And it was so weird because
different.
well, the thing is, it was surreal because I could still remember to this day us hugging you after when we found out that you were Joseph, I that was just like I remember like we were having so much fun, and then like that was just like a moment of like like love and fun and good. But the thing is, I had zero stress going into that show. I wouldn't say I had zero stress, but I had less stress than I have during any show personally, and because it was just I was just having fun
That's
with it.
that was sweet.
Oh, go ahead.
That's what I literally cannot talk. That's what I was saying about the. It's so important to know the people in a learning environment, to know the people around you, because it makes it so much more.
Funny.
It makes it so. It just really makes it like a lot of a good.
A lot of a good time.
A lot of a fun and good time.
Trying so hard to avoid those words after
All right, well,
publicly denouncing them.
how about we just okay? We'll go to the next question. Let's say favorite.
No, don't do any favorites. I don't like
All
favorites.
right, let's do hardest role you were given.
Did
That
we
was
literally?
a struggle.
Oh, I
for
gave you
word.
that. I gave you
we
that.
just talked about that.
We'll do
No, don't do like any extreme. Just ask like story about this or like any I don't know.
any on stage oofs.
On stage. Oh yeah.
Like I'm talking like Pedrick.
no.
People are not gonna know what that means. But
Yeah, that doesn't.
Oh, well, okay, you know what that means. Do you?
No, I've
It
no
means-
idea.
Mega mix.
that-
Colin jumped over Jason.
that
Humphrey and
means-
said,
that
back
means-
in Kane in the future. What's up? Pedrick's family.
it means you said a line of name wrong in a song.
So like, get to the point, man.
Yeah. So there was. I can think of some, but during Antigone recently, I had basically the way that Greek tragedies work is
I'm so sorry. The dog is snoring
Yeah.
very loud.
the way that Greek tragedies work is it's basically it doesn't have like a lot of characters on the stage at the same time. It's sort of like one character talks to one, another character talks to another, and so on and so on. So in Antigone, you see that in Oedipus, you see it in Antigone too. So Antigone, Creon is kind of the main character, and me and the guy who played Creon, a friend of mine, Cole Dennis, it was during a performance, and we both have these huge monologues that we say to each other, and then we have some dialogue. So it's like monologue, then dialogue. And Cole just completely dropped his monologue one night, and it was the most awkward thing because when you have dialogue, at least someone can save you, or if there's someone on stage, you can have sort of like this way to at least save someone. But he completely drops it, and he's just like looking at me, and I don't know what to do. And he's like, "Son." And that's all he said. And I was like, "Oh no."
Was this in a performance?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was like during a rehearsal or a
Son.
performance. It was just so awful.
Son, you're
I did the
good
same
and
thing
fun.
though. I did the same thing. And I said father. That's all you can say.
Father.
Yeah. But that was an oof. I know. You guys probably have some big oofs.
Plenty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this was in. Okay, this was probably, I think, back-to-back nights. This was one that was in Tech Week, and then one that was on opening night of the Crucible. And there's a scene where I, as Reverend Hale, am in the proctor's household, and there's this whole thing going down of people being arrested and warrants and everything. And Hale at the very end has this heart-wrenching monologue about how there's something terrible that's infecting the city of Salem, and everybody needs to rally together and to fight this, and everybody has to work for it. And so it was the first time I had ever gotten that monologue 100%, like remembered everything, did exactly the way I wanted to. And so I was like, okay, good. I got my monologue perfect, just how I wanted to. And instead of going out the door of the proctor's house, which we had built, which was set up, it's the way I entered, I walked straight off stage in a completely horizontal path through their wall and into nothingness.
Into the trees, baby.
And into the trees, right through the wall.
That's still
And
a meme
then-
to this day.
Which is, I still And
It was
I
'cause
still
of-
hear about it to this day.
Yeah. Do you have a story? Because I have another one.
Yeah.
I
About
actually, if I can say one that happened the very next day, which I think was opening night of that show. As I was leaving for the first scene, we had these big trees that would fly in and for the
Yeah, yeah,
outdoor
yeah.
scenes.
I remember this.
As I'm leaving, taking set pieces off, all of a sudden you would hear a very, very loud thud from the stage right side, which was my entire left side leg and my arm walking straight into that tree.
Oh, no.
But
That's oof.
Quite a
I thought
couple.
you were gonna mention Mr. Cider.
oh
That
no,
was
well
so
that's your
funny.
story. That's your story.
Well, yeah, I there was a night where I was talking to Flagel on stage,
This is so funny.
and I was supposed to ask Flagel if he wanted a drink when he came to visit me, because Mr. Hill was going all around town asking about the witches and stuff. And so I was flustered, and I was also not happy that he was visiting my house.
Mhm.
In character, of course. Proctor is just not having it. And so I sit down and I look up at him and I just say, "Would you like some Hale, Mr. Cider?" And instead of cider, Mr. Hale. And
Thank God this was in a rehearsal.
That
Yeah.
was so funny though.
it was pretty funny.
That is also a
All I can
meme
think about
to
in that
this
show
day.
is just Gabe laughing. Gabe Schmidt laughing for nonstop for 15 minutes. First of all, Crucible.
Nothing
there's
either.
Nothing very funny in Crucible.
There's not a funny
And this
moment in
man's
that
just
show.
dying.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We were just like, Gabe. Like it got to the point where it wasn't funny. We're just like, man.
A fart on Thomas Putnam is not a funny line.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
All right, I'll share mine. I've complained about this before because it's not my fault, but I'm still going to talk about it, and I still love this man very dearly. But Charlie Brown, you probably know how I'm going. Yeah. So we didn't have we had a track for Charlie Brown, and CHA usually doesn't have a track for shows. I don't. Well, yeah, we usually have a live orchestra, and for some reason we couldn't have a live orchestra for Charlie Brown. So we had a track, and the track was a little disgusting, if you ask me. A little ploopy and a little dink, dink, dink.
Loopy?
Ploopy.
It was derpy in the sense of
is a
Josh,
new
how
word.
you described it, the boop beep boop beep,
Yeah,
beep,
yeah,
beep, like
yeah.
that kind
Yeah.
of derpy.
Yeah, so it was already hard enough, and timing was, like, we worked with so many people on timing and tempo, and I wasn't worried about me doing it, but so I played Linus, and Linus has his Blanket and Me song, and this is already this is already a super hard role for me because I'm not a kid. I'm like the farthest thing from a kid when it comes to like my voice and acting. I've always played kind of angry people,
Men.
not a little child. Linus apparently the youngest too. He just doesn't look like me. So, and I had to dance, and dear God, if you know who I am, I don't dance. I attempted, but I don't. And she had a whole
That was
piece.
good.
Sorry, it was good and fun.
If you know me, I don't dance.
I don't. I'm really bad at it. Okay, so anyways, and Susan had this whole thing picked out for me, a whole choreo, and I had to learn all this, and there was stress on me doing that. When I finally got it down, Saturday night during, Charlie Brown. I'm sorry, I got something in my throat.
Ben is
S'mores.
dying.
It's the s'mores. After show weekend, give me a break. So we had, Doug was running the sound, the music. You know, it's one of those spacebar things. And if you double click it, it will overplay tracks. So it'll play two at the same
Yeah,
time.
overlap.
Oh,
them, so
no.
you're just hearing like this random
Wall of sounds.
Yeah.
So there was an intro, my intro music was just played for a second, and then another song that immediately comes in, and it's my dance break. And I'm like, okay. In my head, I'm like, what do you do? I sat there, music cut out. I sang the first whole half of my song a cappella.
That's amazing.
It was, I was literally like soiling myself on stage. I'm sorry for that description, but
well, you put on a good show of being a kid.
Yep.
yeah, that's gross.
I mean, that's what they do. Isn't that what all kids do?
That's why he has the blanket.
Okay.
To wipe
He
himself.
wiped himself.
Okay. All right.
All right. So anyways, like I was up there like singing, and I'm like sweating so much. And that same show, I run and I get my blanket on the floor. And Carter will probably remember this. My mic popped out of the pack. So I'm there, first of all, almost crying because of my song. And I'm like fondling my butt.
And there's poop all over your butt.
Poop all
so at this
over my
point-
blanket.
And blanket.
And I'm like
He's about
fixing
to
my
dance
mic.
with it with all these little kids.
Oh no.
Yeah,
And
that's,
dude, I was so scared. And I got off stage. I didn't talk to anyone for like 10 minutes. I was in a pit of rage. But then after the show, I asked if people realized that if there was supposed to be music. They said, "Wait, there was music to that song? Like there's supposed to be music to this song?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, oh, I didn't seem like there's supposed to be music. So it really wasn't an oof. It was an oof for me in the moment.
yeah, but you fixed it.
Yeah, but still, dude.
Oh, here's a good question. I just thought of
no.
this. Do you have a memory of a good cover you made of somebody? Like anytime like somebody might have dropped a line and you could have like covered it or saved somebody.
Yeah, I don't do that. I just let them suffer.
I mean,
No, I'm just kidding. I can't think of anything particular in which.
I did some stuff in Mulan, but that's like 8th grade. I just sang a solo for another guy because he just didn't sing, which is good.
I definitely have. I have a good story about an attempted cover. Which,
Okay.
Actually, I have two stories. Both are from when I did a production of Fiddler on the Roof. You guys were also in that, but just
Ben was not
Ben
actually,
wasn't.
Just me.
Flagel
Carter,
was.
yeah.
But one of them was when I was playing model and I put on my wedding gown, which is like a traditional Jewish wedding garb.
Carb.
Garb.
I'm
That
sorry.
is a word.
It's I was putting it on and I realized halfway through, and at this moment the lights are all blacked out and there's a spotlight just on me because it's a transition scene. So I'm putting on my garb and but I'm putting it on inside out. And at this point I'm soiling my garb. Just but I realized because the buttons were the wrong way, so I'm like, oh shoot, like what am I gonna do? So I just continue buttoning it, and then the whole wedding scene goes by, and we get to the part of the dance and I realized that there was a tag sticking out the back.
Good and fun.
Oh, definitely some fun times that are really good to remember. And I'm
gonna stop with that.
Yeah,
meme
that's
now.
yeah. It's
Yeah, that meme's garbage.
It's not good anymore.
Please tell me you get that.
Definitely not fun for me.
Garbage.
Please continue.
Anyways, so I was trying to keep my back to my back from the audience the whole time, and then I sit down in the chair where we're in the middle of all this dancing, and the guys are going around in a circle around me, and they're about to lift me up in the chair because that's what they do at Jewish weddings, I guess. Never been to one, but
You were in one. You
Yeah.
just never went to one.
and so Christopher Carnes goes to cut my start picking up my chair, and I'm like, rip the tag off out of my shirt, and without even missing a beat, he just like ripped it.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then we just started like
The whole thing just comes off.
the whole shirt comes off,
Shit.
soiled and everything.
he's
The
just
audience
there.
was like, "Oh god!"
He's like
garb.
holding the tag. Just
He's like,
It's
I got
dripping.
it.
Mazel tov.
Oh yeah, muzzle top. So and then another one is I'll make this one shorter, even though this is the better one. But one night I was supposed to give Flagel Flagel's character a package that was supposed to be a shirt that he had ordered.
I remember that.
And
remember
so
watching
I
this.
had the package at the bottom of my feet, the near my feet. That's not the right way to say it. I had the package near my feet. And then my wonderful, lovely wife comes on and kicks the package straight off of the platform that we were on, back behind it, and I saw it happen. I was like, "Oh God, what are we gonna do?" So
She shall remain unnamed, even though there's no way she would listen to this.
yeah,
but
yeah. But anyways, she'll remain unnamed. So
Name's good.
fun, good.
so
Fun but good.
It's fun, good.
So,
Okay, all right.
the package falls off. I see it happen, and instead of being a good actor and literally going and picking it up, I'm like, I do the rigor mortis thing where I just like stay still, and I'm like, yeah. So it was an ugly. yeah. Okay. So I see it happen, and then all these people come in to congratulate me on getting my new sewing machine, a gift from God. And I'm like, thank you. And I whisper in Jonathan Cicada's ear, and I go, please get the package behind there that fell off stage. And he's like, okay, got it. Because we had like people covering my speech because they were all like, congrats, mazel tov. So I'm like, okay, thank God, it'll be fine. So Jonathan's like, I have another scene with Tevye, and I trust that the package is now at my feet. And so Flagel's character comes in and is like, oh, my shirt arrived, did it not? And I look down at my feet, there's nothing there. I'm like, oh no. And so I'm like, okay, it's gotta be, so I literally like pull up the unnamed actress's like skirt to look underneath that, like not in a creepy way. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I just brushed.
She was hiding it under there.
No. I mean on the ground. Like I just brushed it aside to look on the ground. And it's not there either. And I'm like, where is it? And so I'm like, in desperation, I just grabbed this piece of cloth that was sitting on the sewing machine. It was literally like 7 inches long. And I just handed it to Flagel as a poor excuse for a shirt. And I'm like, here you go.
That's
and,
what I get for being a Russian.
Yeah, it's Russian.
I came in that Russian accent. Oh yes, hello, Motole. I've come for this shirt. And
it just looked like I really hated the Russian immigrants or something. Yeah. But were they immigrants? Yeah, they were, weren't they? Yeah. Am I being stupid?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
Know,
so, no, Jews were the immigrants. Weren't they?
Oh no.
Okay, who cares?
Okay, we're not going to spend any more time on this.
Sorry. But yeah, so wow, that was a big distraction moment. So I hand him this like piece of cloth, which is a flimsy excuse for a shirt, and I'm like, what happened? And like a month later, when we were watching back the DVD, I had forgotten about it, and so I see the unnamed actress.
Fun and good.
She will not listen to this. There's no way.
I see her kick off the package, and I'm like, what? I told Jonathan to get it. And I see Jonathan walk out of the shop after the scene that we had, bend down, pick it up, and then carry it out, just trotting along like this. Like off the stage. It was like it looked like he was doing like one of those little like
sailor walk. It was looked like that.
Yeah, it was literally a sailor walk. Yeah, just off with the package under his arm, all happy, like smiling ear to ear.
I did such a great thing for Josh right now.
Yeah, and I was
like we picked up the box, a whole new character.
It was the
came
funniest
in.
thing. Like looking back and seeing his little grin walking off stage. Yeah, it was terrible, but it was an attempted cover. And it ended in Russian discrimination. So
well, I accepted it as I normally would have, and
as a Russian,
I made do with it. I
feel
guess
like a glove.
Right.
It did say that.
You did?
Yeah, that was one of my lines.
Oh.
Feel like a glove.
Okay, before we get too off track, I think we've gone pretty well over our usual time, so we'll call it right there. Thanks for doing this, Josh.
Yeah.
No problem.
Always
a lot
good
of fun.
to have you back.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Signing off.